Hey there, welcome back. I'm glad you're here to learn the piano. Today, we're going to learn the whole steps and half steps, sharps, flats, and ties and slurs. In this lesson, we are going to take all of that knowledge and continue on. And the playing of the piano, the technical parts, the learning new music, and learning how to express emotions at the piano. We'll continue to learn new theory concepts, of course. However, that won't be the number one focus anymore. But for this lesson, we're still focusing more on music theory, and we're going to be talking about whole and half steps, sharps and flats, and ties and slurs. And let's get to it.
What is a whole step? What is a half step? It's very simple. Take a look at the piano. You got white keys and black keys, right? When you go from one key to the very next key, that is a half step. Half steps mostly go from black to white or white to black keys. However, there are exceptions. Here's a E key. If I want to go a half step up, that's a white key. So it's E and then F. And for the other example, if I play a C and I want to go half step back down, it's another white key. So it's C and then B. Within the half steps, that's the E and F, and then B and C, which are your exceptions. Whole steps are just two half steps. So this is a white and black key again, which is a half step. And from a black key and white key is another half. And finally, the entire step, which is a whole step. So to repeat that again, we go from the white key and then black key, which is the first half. And then we go from the black key and then the white key, which is another half. And from there, from the white, black, and then white is the whole step. So that is all for the whole step and half step. Half steps is from the white and black. While for the whole step, you combine the two half steps, and that's a whole step. Like that. Now we're going to talk about sharps, flats, and also naturals. As a group, these three things are referred to as accidentals. You can think of accidentals as not the norm. It's a little bit difficult to explain as we haven't learned about key signatures or modes yet. But just imagine that each song you play has a family of notes, and this family makes up of the notes used in the piece. But once in a while, these strange outsider notes are used with this family of notes, and these strangers are then called accidental notes. This will make more sense once we talk about key signatures in later lessons. But for now, let's learn what these accidentals are. When you see a sharp written before a note, that means that note is raised a half step higher. Looking at the black keys, we have C sharp, because it is a C that we just raised into a half step to make it into a sharp note. Then we have D, D sharp, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and A sharp. You might also notice that I skipped the E and B. So where do you think is the E sharp and B sharp? Well, here's the E, and the key next to it is E sharp, as it's a half step higher. Same thing with B. You start off with the B, then you go one half step up, and there's the B sharp. Once you understand sharps, flats are very easy. Flats are the opposite of sharps, as they make notes a half step lower, just like a flat tire makes your car go lower. Looking at the black keys again, we have D, and we go half step down, which brings us to D flat. And then E, E flat, F, F flat. Notice it's a white key. And then G, G flat, A flat, B, B flat, and C, C flat. Another white key. With sharps and flats, it's possible to have two different names for one key, and this is called enharmonic. For example, here's an F, and at the top is F sharp, but it can also be called a G flat. So this black key can either be a F sharp or a G flat, and this is a enharmonic note.
Whenever sharps and flats are used, there's a rule that says that these are carried through the measure, meaning if you see a G sharp and the same G appears again in the same measure, that second G will still be a sharp, even if it doesn't show the sharp sign. I only wrote this G sharp just to tell you that this G note is still a sharp. It's the same thing for flats. But after this bar line, all sharps and flats are cancelled. If you reimagine the same measure with two G sharps, there's a new measure with the same G, and it's no longer a G sharp, rather a G note. And if you don't want that second G on this measure, a flat or a sharp, in that case, we need to use our third accidental, which is called a natural. So this is a natural. This accidental over here cancels a sharp or flat, and it just means to play a normal note without raising it or lowering it. The last thing in our agenda is the ties and slurs. They look very similar, as you can see them both. However, they have different functions and meanings behind it. When you see this curved line above or below the notes, this means you play all the notes within that curved line very smoothly or legato. So this is a slur. This is a tie, and it's also a curved line, but it's only used to connect two or more of the exact same notes. It's essentially
ties the notes together and indicates that they should be played as one note but held for the duration of both notes. Now, if I have a half note tied to a quarter note, you'd only play one note, which is this half note, and it only be held for 3 beats. Remember that the easiest way to tell the difference between a tie and slur is to notice whether or not the notes change within the curve line. If you change the pitch, that would be a slur. If they're the exact same notes, then that's a tie.
That is all for this lesson. If you have any questions, any add-ups that I have just explained for this tutorial, don't hesitate to ask me and comment on the comment section down below. Until then, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next lesson.